kind of contemplate about is normalcy is so underrated. It's very easy to be like, oh no, this is lacking life, that is lacking life. But if you're healthy, if you're fine, if your body and mind are completely normal, that is the most beautiful thing in itself. Good evening. Welcome back to In the Khud. This is December 5, 2022, 6:51 p.m. It's great to be back. I'm back after I don't know how many days. Thursday was the last time I documented, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Technically only 2 days of gap. Because Sunday as it is I don't document. Pretty obvious. It was the annual sick leave situation, which is like drops on you like the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Pretty much how unexpected and random that falling sick situation is. So up until Thursday evening I started to feel throat pain, right? That's where everything starts. Intense throat pain, running nose, fever, lockdown, shutdown, despair, unlimited despair. Cannot explain how depressed I get when I am sick. I'm better now. I've recovered pretty much. Like my throat is still not back to 100%. So I'm gonna not talk too much today. Keep it very minimal and subtle and just document the last Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Pretty eventful in terms of I did not do any dad's work. I did not do anything complex. All I did was a rest. So I basically woke up every single day for the last 3 days at between 9 and 10 a.m. So that much needed 9 to 10 hours of night sleep, which I was being deprived of for the past year or more than that. Finally got that quota completed. The other thing that I did was work on this 3D animation, which I was talking about on Thursday. So I will firstly show you how that animation came. I rendered it, color corrected it and did everything and sent it to the group in the morning. And surprisingly, other than music, there was no feedback. This is how the video is. I love it. I love every part of it. It's rendered in Eevee. You see all of these things that are happening here. This is obviously basic stuff coming up, but the way the building structures are forming, all of this has been done, like all of these flying in from here, the cubes and then forming. This has been done through geometry nodes, all of it. A lot learned through this project, primarily how to do these kind of motion graphics. You see here, I've used the same distribute points like the grass from Erindel's course. It was also actually moving, but I was just making the project very heavy, so removed that movement and everything. The street lamps, you see these things are like coming on, so you can do that easily through geometry nodes. Even this text, you see it's coming on, just using a delete geometry node and then position greater than keyframe it over time. And then there is this car that's going through with a headlight on. So even this car I modeled by my own hands, these variants. These houses here I did not model in this whole situation, and this tree and these benches. Yeah, other than that, the street lamp also I modeled myself. And yeah, everything else I have modeled here by myself. Yeah, there was a lot to learn here. The biggest learning I would say was the fact that initially I had made them by chance only at the actual scale. So these buildings were like 300 meters, which I have no idea about how long these skyscrapers actually are, but 300 meters seems like a long building, and I had the entire structure at that scale. And what was happening is, with that kind of a scene, if you put lights all over the place, because this is rendered in Eevee and I haven't used an HDRI, it's just all the lights in the scene are added by me. In that case, you have to have each single point lamp at like 10,000 or 20,000 watts, and that just destroys the project very easily. So the biggest thing was I had modeled everything, then I scaled everything back down 0.3, and then a lot of things got messed up because of that. So like right from the beginning, make sure that no matter how big, even if you're making a big city, the scale should be like a miniature thing, so that you can easily put one light and light everything up and not have it like be very intense for Blender to deal with. And this is as long as we don't have a very strong system which can easily handle as many watts or whatever. I'll quickly walk through how the project was. One small thing I've learned is if you hold down shift and click on any collection, it is as good as just shutting or opening all of them underneath. So I use this a lot. You see this resize null. I had to resize everything a lot. And I'll go to the rendered view. So the moment I went to the rendered view, the Blender only crashed. So good that I could just record that live, and then Blender was crashing a lot with this project. Yeah, so basically it's not letting me go to the rendered view. I will show you the material preview instead. Again, I think here there are a lot more optimizations that could be done. For example, the biggest thing being that instead of having all these cubes, like right now you see, how many objects do we have? 9,991 objects. I think this is including these grasses also, like the strands of grass that's being distributed. But even without that, I think a lot of these things could have been done, like the structure itself could have been done through geometry nodes, in which case all we would be having is like a few planes with a lot of instances on them, and that would be a lot easier on the system to deal with. That's one optimization thing that could have been done, which I did not do here. I'll probably do that in the upcoming projects. I really hope since this is like a pitch creative, I really hope that we can get this brand and get a lot more like commercial building 3D kind of stuff. Like if they really like this video and they're like, every single month we want a 3D asset, that is like, okay, we're staying here for a while then. But anyway, yeah, a lot learned about materials. You see these lamps are glowing and stuff. These are glass materials that inside EV you have to like do a lot of things, make it transparent, and screen space reflections and refraction and a lot of things to make it look like glass. And all of this, you see the light. If I actually go through the project, there is a lot that is happening. Oh, one big thing I forgot. You see at the bottom, these things are scaling up. I went back to Cubic Worlds. So glad that I took Cubic Worlds course. And there, Zach talks about this free add-on called Commotion. And I also use the NLA, so non-linear animation timeline. So basically, if you see this one, this has one. This is one thing about blenders, I don't find things. Yeah, so this pop-up is like a container. I can just move in here, and whenever I want to go in, I can even access all the keyframes on the timeline. But I don't want to deal with keyframes. I want to just deal with this kind of box thing. So I can move that around, and with Commotion, just shift select all the other things and offset. It's basically like a rift for After Effects. It's beautiful, provided that every object has its scale applied. That is one big thing that you have to take care of. You see all of these things are coming in from the top, and that's through geometry nodes. Translate instances, scale instances, map ranged, while the value is coming through a Musgrave texture, whose scale value is coming through a noise texture. That's all there is in these animations that are happening, but like looks very cool and fancy, so to speak. So amazing, I learned a lot. Other than that, today the whole day I spent making another video for this pitch only. That video I primarily experimented a lot. Actually, I think I can show it to you. Shouldn't be a problem. Over here I experimented a lot with inside Premiere Pro. Now what they have is this thing called, you can just make a shape. And then select mask with shape, and then what happens is when you come in here, no compromise, and you move this, it will just do that matte thing, which was used to be like a pain. So I use this a lot for this project, like just text inside of Premiere Pro. Then here I made some kind of basically their website had this interaction. You see at the bottom, 01, 02, 03. Yeah, today the whole day, like, you know, that screen comes up where Windows ran into some problem, we are restarting nonsense out of nowhere. That happened like 3-4 times or 5 times today. So that's a big pain. I don't know what to do with that. In fact, today the whole day I was working for the full-time job stuff only. Like in the morning I finished that video, and now I did, like a while back I finished making this video. It was like coming back to normalcy in some ways, because one thing that every single time I fall sick, one thing I really kind of contemplate about is normalcy is so underrated. It's very easy to be like, oh no, this is lacking life, that is lacking life. But if you're healthy, if you're fine, if your body and mind are completely normal, that is the most beautiful thing in itself. I think that's pretty much it for today's documentation. Am I missing on anything? I did not do anything for dad's work in the past 3 days. The last set of queries that we had got addressed more or less. So there's again a lot of work that has to be done on that front. I'll get to it from tomorrow onwards. Like tomorrow onwards, life is gonna get completely to normal. Today also it came back to normal. Like I'm gonna go to the gym now, so it is like, okay, it's come back to normal, but I'm gonna take it easy. And like the whole day today was like easily getting back to normal and not like rushing things, because this time around I did fight pretty well the entire virus or whatever sick situation happens, in contrast to last few times that it has happened. My voice has been very low, but thanks to the beautiful snowball mic, which I'm assuming is working, I still have my thoughts and my words delivered to the other side. Thanks so much for being in the khud. I will catch you tomorrow. Peace.